What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. We are looking once again into the future. Zuko's living in the future again. It's been a long time since I've been on the PTR, like a couple months, and it's about time we get back to it. Enhancement Shaman is going to have a massive, not so much a rework. It's not a rework, but there are some massive changes coming to Totemic Enhancement Shaman, which I think is something that a lot of people have been waiting for. And I'm going to talk about it. This is coming in the 11.0.5 patch. This is not live right now. It's not coming anytime soon. It's going to be in a couple months. We're talking November, okay? So just be aware. That's what's happening. These are some big patch notes. It's the 20th anniversary patch notes for WoW. And Enhancement is getting a bunch of changes. Now, the TLDR on this video is that most of these changes have to do with the Totemic tree, okay? Bringing the Elementalist playstyle back into the game in a very real way. And really focusing on like Flame Tongue weapon and a couple of other really cool interactions that I'm going to get into, okay? So I'm going to show you in game kind of what's going on here. And we're going to go through it one by one. So the spec tree is the thing I want to start with. What changes are coming for the spec tree? Well, number one, Ice Strike is now passive now. Ice Strike is now passive now. Ice Strike is passive now, which is fantastic. This is actually really, really good for the Hailstorm Elementalist playstyle because there's now a tracker on your Frost Shock and a tracker on your Lava Lash. So this is really, really cool. I'm going to show you this right here. One of the biggest reasons I hated playing Elementalist is because I felt like I always had to track my Frost Shock and I never knew what my Hailstorm was at, what level it was at. And you have to get like a weak aura for it. And you guys know me, I'm kind of like an original UI Andy. My UI is nothing special, right? Anyway, I just kind of hated it. So now Blizzard has put the UI elements directly onto the icons on your bar. So watch this. If I come up here, my Frost Shock is now going to display how many Maelstrom weapon stacks I've spent. You can see, oh, and it also just turned into Ice Strike right there. Every once in a while, your next Frost Shock has a chance to become Ice Strike whenever I spend Maelstrom, okay? So it's a chance. That was very lucky right there. So I have it's gone now, but for a few seconds, you have a chance to cast Frost Shock and then Ice Strike, sorry, and Ice Strike will buff your next Frost Shock just like it always has, okay? Nothing new there. But you can see the Ashen Catalyst. Yeah, it's the Ashen Catalyst buff right here displaying on my Lava Lash. I'm going to consume that. And now I'm going to hit my Chain Lightning. It did it again. There we go. Okay, we're going to hit Ice Strike. And then I have 10 stacks of Hailstorm ready to go. Boom. I know that now. I can see it right there. I'll spend my Lightning Bolt again. Oh, I'm up to 8 stacks again. I'm going to spend it again. Boom. So now I can see visually how many stacks that I have going on my Hailstorm, which is really cool. I think that's actually a great UI sort of adaptation there. And then I know exactly when to press my Frost Shock. I think that's really cool. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons that I hated playing the Elementalist playstyle was that I had to track Frost Shock. So they've done two things that I think are really good. They consolidated the buttons by making Ice Strike just proc off of Frost Shock. So you don't have to worry about having two keybinds now with Ice Strike and Frost Shock. It's just one. And they put the actual UI element just right on top of your icon, on top of your Frost Shock icon. I think that makes, to me, the Elementalist playstyle much more approachable for lots of people. I think that's great. I don't have to look anywhere else. I can just look at my bars, I can look at my buttons, and I can see exactly what's going on with my Hailstorm buff and my Ashen Catalyst kind of building up buff for my Lava Lash. So I really like that change, first of all. That's a great little change that came in. There's a new talent here called Molten Thunder, right underneath Sundering. The cooldown of Sundering goes down by 10 seconds, but it can't incapacitate anymore. This could be potentially really, really good with Earth Surge from Totemic, because Earth Surge says casting Sundering within 40 yards of your Surging Totem causes it to create a tremor. So anytime you cast Sundering, you will get a Surging Totem Earth Surge pulse of damage, okay? Now, this might get really crazy later. I'm going to talk about this in a second. But right now, you could get a 20-second Sundering that is going to proc your Totem, and your totem is up every 24 seconds. So if you took this talent, you could guarantee that you're going to get a sundering on every single surging totem. But the second part is really interesting as well. Storm Surge has a small chance to reset the cooldown on sundering. They changed the mastery. It used to be called Storm Bringer, which resets your Storm Strike. It's called Storm Surge now. If Storm Surge procs Stormbringer, you have a small chance of getting the cooldown of Sundering back, and then you can potentially put 2 Sunderings inside of 1 Surging Totem, which would be kind of interesting for damage, right? Because of the Earth Surge damage. So potentially some cool synergy there. We'll have to wait and see. It's not nothing crazy right now. Elemental Weapons is a 1-point node now. It used to be a 2-point node. There is now a passive Feral Spirit option, which so far my testing has shown that this is really bad. It doesn't proc nearly enough, so I don't really know what to say about this other than the fact that I just don't think you should take it right now. We're going to test it right now on the dummies because we might as well, right? But I don't, for my testing, it doesn't seem to be very good. Witch Doctor's Ancestry got nerfed, so instead of it giving 2 seconds of cooldown reduction, it only gives 1 second of cooldown reduction now for every Maelstrom weapon stack that you generate. So they literally kind of cut the value of Witch Doctors in half, which on my testing, it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal, okay? I'll just say it right now. It does, the flow of the spec still feels the same, but you will definitely have less uptime on your wolves now. So that's a little bit annoying for sure, that they nerfed that so hard. The last major change for the Spectre is in Thorums, and you can't see it right now because I don't have the deeply rooted stuff selected, but I guess I could just do that right now. So if we select this and I go apply changes, Thorum's Invocation now interacts with Ascendance in a really cool way. So it now says that your deeply rooted elements last for 2 seconds longer. So whenever you get a proc on deeply rooted, you go for 8 seconds instead of 6. That is a massive deal. It is a big, big deal for the Storm build in particular, right? If you're doing the Stormbringer build, it's a huge deal. Having 2 more seconds, that's 25% more uptime on your deeply rooted when it actually procs. The other side of this is that if you take Ascendance, it's a 2-minute cooldown instead of a 3-minute cooldown. So big change there with Thorums. Thorums used to give you extra damage on Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. Now it gives you 2 extra seconds on Deeply Rooted or a 1 minute off of the Ascendance cooldown. So it's up to you how you guys want to like handle that. I think it's just really good. I think it's actually a buff. Getting 2 extra seconds in Deeply Rooted, in my opinion, is really, really strong because that's the way you want to play the Stormbringer build is with the Deeply Rooted proc. So I like that a lot. Okay. Those are the spec tree changes. Those are the big ones, okay? There's a new talent that they're also going to be implementing in here. We don't know where it is yet. I'm guessing it's going to replace Converging Storms, but it's not implemented yet. It's called Lightning Spark, and it basically says that your Chain Lightning is going to mark enemies with a Lightning Spark, and then there's a chance that your next Flame Shock will become Tremor Shock, and then if you cast Tremor Shock, it'll shock up to 6 enemies that have been hit by that Chain Lightning Spark thing, and it will consume the spark and do damage and then apply a Flame Shock. So it's a little bit convoluted, but it's like you press Chain Lightning and you mark enemies, and then you could consume that mark to do damage and add a Flame Shock to those enemies. So that is a free way of putting Flame Shocks on enemies if you are doing primarily a lightning based build. So I think like this could be a really good talent depending on where it is. Again, I think it's going to be right here, but we'll have to see. Depending on where it ends up, it could be a really, really good talent for a lightning based build where you're casting Chain Lightning a lot, and then you can convert your Flame Shock into that Tremor Shock thing, and then you're getting Flame Shocks for free essentially while casting your lightning spells, particularly Chain Lightning. So very, very good, I think, for the Stormbringer tree to help maintain your Flame Shocks, potentially, okay? Oh, there's also a new Doom Winds. I forgot about this. Sorry. Doom Winds is brand new. Not brand new, but it has the same effect that it did before. It increases your chance to generate Wind Fury weapon procs, and it now has a damaging component, like a real damaging component, better than it was before. It now unleashes a storm, dealing storm strike damage, which is physical and nature. So depending on what dogs you have out, it's going to get a buff from either one of them. You press this and you get this storm around you. You can see that little wind, and it ends up actually doing quite a bit of damage. On top of the fact that it obviously procs Wind Fury for you, you can see there Doom Winds did 1 million damage. Now, the craziest part about Doom Winds here is that it's uncapped AoE. Uncapped. So my Doom Winds does 32,000 damage per second to nearby enemies. That's about 256,000 damage per enemy. If I have 10 enemies around me, I'm doing 2.6 million damage to those enemies just with Doom Winds. So like the more the merrier with this spell, and it's very, very cool. I like the way that they've reworked that. That is really cool. Okay, let's get to Totemic. There are some awesome changes to Totemic that I want to talk about, and I will show you some testing on the dummies, I promise. So one of the biggest changes that's come through is reactivity. While Hot Hand is active, Lava Lash shatters the earth, causing a sundering at 30% effectiveness. This does not cause an incapacitate effect. Very, very cool. So let's do this. We're going to get our Hot Hand up. Watch the Hot Hand. There's a Sundering there, right? Here's another Sundering. Boom. You can see it just casting Sundering. This is during Hot Hand. So you have to have a Hot Hand window. You'd say, okay, well, Zuko, that doesn't actually sound that great, because, like, what if you don't have a Hot Hand window? Then you're not getting any benefit out of this. You're like, you're right. You're absolutely right. But look at it. Look at the Sundering damage that I did there. Isn't that cool? Sundering has kind of become like a type of damage that you deal now. It isn't just about the button Sundering. It's like you're going to get Sundering from your Lava Lashes. You're going to be pressing Sundering yourself. You could reset Sundering and then cast it again. It's, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. Here's what happens with the Hot Hand proc. This is really, really cool. There's a new buff for whirling elements, and we'll get to it in a second, I promise. I just want to talk about this. Imbuement Mastery got a massive buff. Increases the chance for Wind Fury weapon to proc and its damage. That was already there. Here's the new thing. When Flame Tongue weapon triggers from Wind Fury weapon, it has a chance to gather a whirl of flame, damaging all nearby enemies 3 additional times. So if I'm auto-attacking here, you can see the Wind Fury has a new animation. You can see that little wind thing going on there, which is really cool. We're going to get this. And then you can see there's the combo of the two. The Flame Tongue plus the Wind Fury kind of swirls together and does this really, really cool animation. There's Wind Fury again. So all these new animations are like super, super cool. I think that looks really, really neat. I guess he stops attacking. Anyway, they've updated that, but that's what's happening here. And you can just see from the damage. Look at Flame Tongue. Flame Tongue's actually like dealing damage now, which is really cool. And the animations are really cool. So I kind of love this. And if we pop a Doom Winds, let's say, we're going to get a lot of triggers of Wind Fury, which is going to trigger a lot of Flame Tongue as well. So you can just see those animations kind of going off there. So they've really done they've given a huge buff, in my opinion, to Flame Tongue in particular with this Totemic hero tree. So if you like Flame Tongue and you want it to go really hard, you can actually invest into it now, and it actually does damage, because Flame Tongue has kind of been invisible for the last like 6 years. So now it's actually doing something with Imbuement Mastery, with this little whirl of flame that goes on, and now with supportive imbuements as well, which has always been here, but there hasn't really been a good reason to take it. In the patch notes, Flame Tongue weapon has also been buffed by 20%. The damage has been buffed by 20%, so it's really good. And then you have the critical strike chance of Flame Tongue, and the crit damage is up there as well. So some good synergy. Very, very cool. Now, Whirling Elements has been completely reworked, okay? Completely. The air buff now says your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Ellie Blast unleashes 3 Surging Bolts at your Surging Totem. That's this thing up here. The Surging Bolt buffs the damage of your Surging Totem by 10% each time. So that's 10, 20, 30%. You get 30% increased damage on your Surging Totem just right away as soon as you use a spender. You drop your totem, you use a spender, and boom, it's doing 30% more damage. Very cool, okay? Earth. Direct damage of your next Flame Shock is increased by 300%, and it's applied to 5 nearby enemies. So you get free Flame Shock spreading without having to go Flame Shock Lava Lash or Primordial Wave Lava Lash. You can just go put your totem down and hit flame shock, and then boom, you got 5 nearby enemies covered in flame shock. I don't know if that's 6 in total. I can't really tell, actually. That's really cool. So now you have multiple ways of applying flame shock. You can do the primordial wave, spread it around. You can do a regular one and spread it around, or you can just literally press flame shock itself. One thing that's really problematic with this talent right now that's not working is that your primordial wave will not trigger this whirling elements buff, and primordial wave is a flame shock essentially. So I put a bug report in about this, but right now you have to press flame shock itself in order to trigger the earth buff from whirling elements, just so you know. The best one here is the fire one. Your next lava lash or fire nova grants you hot hands for 8 seconds. This is crazy. You can basically have not permanent, but almost permanent uptime on hot hands. It is insane how much uptime you're going to get on hot hands. I'm going to show you right now. So again, we have our passive wolves down here. I'm just going to keep trying them out. We do have primordial waves. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to drop our totem. We're going to hit primordial wave over here. We're going to do a flame shock and then lava lash. Then we're going to do doom winds. We'll consume our flame shock here. There we go. Then we'll do a real sundering. And then we're getting extra sunderings from our lava lash. And I can see my hailstorm has procced. I forgot about that. Thank you, UI, for reminding me that I have hailstorm, because I forget it all the time. There's that. Oh, we got a sundering reset. That was cool. Okay, we'll do another totem. Here we go. Now, what I don't know about the... You know how you're getting sundering procs for free from your lava lashes during hot hand? I do not know if the sundering procs actually trigger earth surge in the talent here. I don't know that, and I wish I did. I've done some testing on it. I truly cannot tell if I'm doing like more damage with a regular sundering or if the lava lash sunderings are actually counting towards earth surge every single time. You're gonna see at the end of this fight our surging totem is doing a lot of damage, so that is encouraging news, and it makes me think that like that potentially my lava lash with hot hand is actually doing what I want it to, but I don't know. I just haven't been able to tell so far. Let's do a flame shock, lava lash. There, we got a hot hand window again. Here we go. Like, your totem is up so much that your hot hand is going to be up a lot as well, and you can get your own natural hot hand proc as well. That can happen, and then once you get your totem back, you're going to get your another hot hand proc. So like, again, I'm basically trying to tell you that I think hot hand is going to be almost permanent with this build, which is very, very exciting. There's totem again, and we go again, and we have hot hand again. So if you enjoy lava lash, hot hand, if you enjoy the elementalist playstyle, it's absolutely going to be here, and it's going to be awesome. Like, I think it's going to be awesome. And then there's all this really cool Wind Fury Flame Tongue mixing going on, doing a bunch of extra damage, and we'll look at the numbers right now. So there we go. Surging Totem, here's what I think right now off the cuff. Surging Totem is doing so much damage that it's hard for me to believe that my lava lash sunderings are not triggering Earth Surge. I think they are. I think my lava lash sunderings from reactivity are definitely triggering Earth Surge right now, because the damage on my totem is just way too high. Like, it's just way too high. So that's my thought right now. There's the rest of it. Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, Flame Shock. There's Flame Tongue Weapon. Look at how high Flame Tongue Weapon is. It's almost tied with Wind Fury Weapon. When's the last time you saw that? Never. That's never been the case. So very, very cool. Sundering is actually doing real damage right now. Guys, all of this damage would go way up with more targets. The more the merrier with this kind of build. But I do really believe that the Surging Totem is getting the full benefit from like reactivity plus Earth Surge. When I'm hitting those lava lashes and they're casting a sundering all on their own, I'm pretty sure that it's triggering this Earth Surge thing. So I mean, that looks like the way it should work anyway, right? The one talent follows the other talent, so like it totally makes sense. But I've tried looking at like a bunch of numbers, and I've tried doing some like comparisons to, and it just, I can't really tell if that's actually the case, but my gut feeling just tells me that it is the case. So that is those are the big changes coming for Totemic enhancement shaman right now. It's very encouraging news to me, because it looks like the elementalist build is well and truly back on the menu. If you're trying to do like a a Storm Strike kind of build with Totemic. I just don't think it's going to work anymore. Storm Strike is kind of in the background now. It is a supplemental bonus where your Totemic rebound, you know, you're getting extra damage on your Surging Totem that way. But Lava Lash is really the star of the show now, both for lively totems, but especially for reactivity, getting you these free sunderings. And Flame Tongue weapon has come back, and it is now kind of the star of the show as well, with imbuement mastery and supportive imbuements, and mixing Wind Fury and Flame Tongue together and doing extra damage. And then the Whirling Elements buffs are actually fun and interesting and interactive. They're actually like so good now. My only gripe is that Primordial Wave doesn't proc the Earth buff here, but either way, all the buffs are really, really good, and your Flame Shocks have big uptime. I think you can definitely play an Elementalist build now, like 100% now, and we're gonna have to wait and see when that new Lightning Spark talent gets in here. But either way, I think it's up to you guys. You can play whatever build you kind of want. You could do a Primordial Wave build if you want, doing the extra Maelstrom generation over here and the Splintered Elements buff. This Primal Maelstrom is going to get nerfed, by the way. Instead of it giving 10 stacks, it's only going to give 5. It's not implemented quite yet, but that is what's happening. You could play this a different way as well. You could go like pure physical damage, and you could go like Alpha Wolf, and then you're buffing your Surging Totem even more. And you could go like Fire Nova. Let's say Fire Nova is not working right now, which is unfortunate, but you could go like Fire Nova and then drop Ice Strike, I guess, and pick up something else down here. Maybe this LA Assault. I guess I got a bunch of extra talents. I'm not sure what you would do with them, but the point is you could try like a more physically based build, but my suspicion is that it's just going to be better to do the pure Elementalist build for Totemic now, which is really great. Now, there are a couple of patch note things I just want to say really quickly. Again, Stormbringer is now Storm Surge. Chain Lightning reduces the CD on Crash Lightning. That is something that happens, but they've cut that in half. It used to reduce, Chain Lightning would reduce the cooldown of Crash Lightning by 1 second. Now it only reduces it by 0.5 seconds per target hit. That's kind of a big blow, to be honest, to the Storm build where you're focusing a lot on pressing Chain Lightning and Crash Lightning. So that's a bit of an annoying thing there. Crash Lightning's range has been brought back down to 8 yards. It got boosted up to 12 yards like recently, and they're going to bring it back down to 8. I don't know why, but that's kind of annoying. Molten Assault, where you're spreading those Flame Shocks, that range has been reduced to 10 yards. Prime Wave, like I said, will only generate up to 5 Maelstrom weapon stacks instead of 10. And then Witch Doctor's Ancestry, as I said before, got nerfed really hard, like cut in half. So I don't know if these passive Feral Spirits are going to be any good. You can see my Feral Spirit uptime was 57%, which is actually not bad. I thought it was going to be much worse than that. So that's with the passive Feral Spirits. You don't have to ever cast them. They're just going all the time. So maybe there is a place for Flowing Spirits somewhere. Maybe it actually could work. I'm not entirely sure about that, to be honest, but we'll have to keep experimenting. But that's what's happening with Enhancement Shaman. I think Totemic is absolutely back. The Whirling Elements buffs are incredible. Flame Tongue is hitting really hard and doing this really cool mixture thing. And then Lava Lash is now the star of the show. It is back to being the main thing that you're focused on. Your hot hand uptime will be absolutely absurd with these builds. And you can do a full-blown Elementalist build, once again, in my opinion, if you want to. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's what's coming in 11.0.5, which, again, probably isn't until November. So let me know what you think once again, guys. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.